Road and Bridge, or how do you
I
want?
don't know if the road and bridge boys want to do it.
Well,
I
the
guess
thing-
if we tell them they have to, they do it.
well, I think like, you need somebody to oversee it. That's,
Okay, yeah,
That's
you're
what I'm
saying
talking-
just
right.
put it in road and bridge, just somebody be the overseer.
Well, but there are other requirements and responsibilities of that position that are in the.
which I guess it could just be a supervisor, but you could have a personal line item in there for an employee. I just think
What
road
we have,
and
we've got a gentleman that's been doing the airport, removal of snow, taking care of the lights,
Mowing.
and he's 72 years old. Don't know how long he's gonna do it. And I don't know how, was it through the lease money we were getting? How did we pay him?
I was gonna say, this money that you've got for airport, have you been paying that over to a commission or something?
yeah, the airport.
And then they pay him?
Right. Well, no, that is to cover the grants that they get.
Okay.
Because they usually have 5 or 10% matching on the grants
Yeah.
and stuff.
So what we did, we was leasing the airport to this gentleman. He was running the spray service out of there.
Oh, okay.
And part of that lease agreement was that he maintained the airport. And
So now you're gonna have to
now there's
possibly,
nobody's gonna be leasing it. We're gonna have to end up paying personal services somewhere, somehow. And it might be this year, it might be 2 years from now.
Yeah,
I
we
don't
don't know
know.
when it's going to happen.
And he does a really good job.
And that should probably be out of the general if you're,
Could we create a new line item
well, it's just what I was
under
gonna say.
airport for personal services?
Because if it's full-time, I mean,
You take into account.
you're going to have to do everything. You're going to have
Where does that money go?
contractual commodities.
Does that money go
capital-
into general when they pay the lease?
It's $500 a year.
Oh, is that all it is?
Yeah. For all of them up there. It's an annual payment of
100 if they're
$500.
just personal.
What's that?
100 if it's just personal
Right.
businesses.
If it's business, it's 5.
So they just have the big hangar, the big block hangar.
Well, with Grace's, what happened is that they had their hangar, but then they were also using county-owned buildings up there.
Right.
It was a trade-off.
But they maintain
It was a
all.
good trade-off.
Yeah, I mean, they did a fabulous service for the county.
So we're gonna be losing a little bit of lease money there.
That's what I don't know what you want to do.
Just $500.
Because you're going to have road and bridge tractors, fuel. That's why I was kind of looking at it being in road and bridge.
But they've gotten grants for their own mower.
Oh,
And weren't they getting
Some of the
a
snow
grant for
removal, FAA grant, yeah.
For equipment.
I think that's-
if you've got a separate guy, I think it ought to be separated.
just in
Make
the
it a
general.
new line item, like
Yeah.
she said.
I say new line item under airport.
That's what
Personal services.
what I did is I took the airport and the 22.5 and I'm showing that as grant match and then putting a new line in airport dash personal services. And how much do you think we ought to put on that?
35,000.
3,500?
1,000.
Oh,
That's around
Because I don't
$15
think-
an hour. I
Right,
mean,
from mowing and stuff.
They mow 25, 30 acres up there at least.
okay.
And they keep it up nice and it's gonna, so people are gonna expect it to stay nice.
Okay. 35,000.
And then the snow removal,
Yeah.
which I may be jumping around, but I've got a question specifically on airport. On the capital projects reserve transfer,
Yeah,
it's showing 0.
yeah, years ago, we're giving them money for some kind of capital project, and that's been eliminated. And, but I still got the caption in there.
Okay, so like the 22 that you're talking about, where is that?
Oh, that's,
Appropriations page.
yeah, I believe
Seven-
it's
7E.
page before.
7B.
Yeah, I can't.
E,
E.
I can't.
that's about
Okay,
8 down or so.
Yeah, what I did was, that airport line that's 22,500, I'm adding description grant match.
okay.
And then
But
I-
if they, I mean, because they believe they have a reserve,
The airport,
and that's what they've been using some of the grant matches to,
We just don't know where we're at for sure, right? Yeah.
let me see if we're showing a reserve. Okay. They did. They spent it all out last year. We're looking at page 19. It's in the third one over, airport, multi-year capital improvements. Started out at the beginning of 2020, for 169,000, and then they got some grant money, but they spent it and ended up with zero. So they don't have, at this point, any carryovers in reserve.
They have how much?
they got a zero balance on their capital improvement.
See, that's why I haven't been giving any numbers out. I'm showing 167,000.
He did say page 19, right?
Yeah.
We probably picked up,
Okay.
oh, I know, what? Probably picked up a payable or something.
I don't know. Dolores was taking care of that, and then
Because I
which
think
I should have been. I didn't know, but
they're-
she gave it to me, and I haven't, because she was so far behind, I wouldn't give anybody.
Yeah, the airport has 2 projects, I think, that they're counting on paying out of that. Is that right, Rodney? Because you're on that board.
I'm a board member of the airport.
Is that correct, though? There's 2 projects that,
Right, they're doing one right
Pardon?
now.
okay. There's 2 projects that are going to be paid out of that, correct?
Out of that 22.5?
Yeah, well, that, whatever's there or not there.
I don't believe so. I think that's for rent.
No. It's okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right.
No, that the airport had a match, like a 90-10 grant, and they're going to do 2 projects. And we were trying to wonder when Dave was here, we couldn't figure out if there was any money in there. And what he's saying is there possibly 166, is that what you said?
167 is what
167.
it's showing, but until Dawn gets caught up, we don't know
Well,
where
that's,
everything's
I was
at.
gonna say, that's,
That's why I would
Kind
never
of-
give anybody
It's a kind of a loaded.
a number,
Yeah.
because we don't know where it's
So
at.
we told them to go ahead and get bids on their projects, and if we
Well, do
didn't
we
have any
need-
money, we'd back out of them.
do we need to stick some more money in here?
I think what you need is you need a capital improvement.
Back under that line that she's talking about, capital projects reserve? Do we need to put 20, 30,000 in there?
What do we need to? Do I need to get a hold of Dave and find out what their projects are going to cost? The splits?
I don't know what this one is right now, it's 500 and something dollars, so
So are we 50,000?
it might be.
So if we got
I don't know what they,
22.5.
now that with COVID, some of those were funded 100%, so I don't know what we'd have to find out for sure.
Our feeling is, we don't have to do all that projects.
biggest problem right now is we've got projects going.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, we've got them, they're going right now, is the problem.
but he was in here the other day. And he
Right,
was
for
gonna-
future
For
projects.
future projects. Because he didn't know where the money, if he had the money to do them. But you're saying he doesn't even have money to finish the projects he's on?
According to
According to
this.
John.
So what are they doing up there right now?
Fix that runway. There's still bills coming through. You know, where they had the heaving and all that.
Oh, I just saw some go through.
And then I think
50,000.
weren't they doing something with the taxiway or something?
I think so. There was one of the taxiways that was raising up a little bit, and it was more pronounced either in the summer or winter.
Yeah,
And they
I
had
can't
to
remember what they
do,
were doing.
and it was about a third of the way down the runway. I remember when I was on that board, they talked about
Because
that.
I've just last month, I submitted bills and sent checks out on it, so. And there's still money in there, so I know there's more coming.
Try to figure out where they think they are.
But I think that the airport is under the impression that they have a line item to carry over for capital improvement.
Right, exactly.
We have had in the past,
It's a special capital improvement fund,
Yeah.
is what it's called.
which
Right,
is
but-
not a budget
But
fund.
Right.
what John is saying is that no longer exists.
Yeah, according to what I'm showing, it's zeroed out.
So,
That's the problem we're in right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
We
so
don't
it's
know
like-
where we're at.
you know, if
Right.
there's gonna be money there for these grant shares, for sure.
Well, we got the 22.5 in there.
Right, there, we've got the 22.5, but some of these projects that they're coming in for,
If you're needing 50, we probably better put another 30 in.
Yeah, like the federal government, which is FAA money, some of that stuff was 100%.
right, but he's got, remember the 5-year plan?
But if they're 90-10, then we're gonna have to come up.
Right. You've got to come up with the 10%, and wasn't one of them 17,000?
I think so. He shows, he just sent me a picture, he shows 167, 650, 145.
See, and that's what I'm showing in there, but
Okay.
that's what I've said at the last meeting. We don't know exactly what's
Right.
in there
Okay.
until Dawn gets caught up.
Can we put the 50 in it for now? And just wait on that?
You want to put 30 on top of the 22?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's.
let's see where that puts
Is that, would that work? In your opinion?
And if it shows up that we have this,
I mean,
then we'll be,
this year, about the only thing you can do.
That
is
still
to-
puts us 5 mils under last year's, or under the revenue
Projected.
neutral rate.
okay.
And still 2.7 mils under last year. So,
And I know I don't want this on TV, but does this give them more budget authority?
no, that stays with you guys.
Okay. We still gotta approve projects.
Yes.
We don't have to spend
And,
that money.
and you don't have to.
If there's money there, we don't have to.
Yeah.
I don't wanna add more projects up there just because we got money.
But this would be the way to do it, instead of the,
That way you could start building that capital improvement.
Yeah, and you would make the decision on whether you're gonna move that from the general fund to their separate capital improvement fund.
Okay. I'll go along with that.
Okay.
But we'll find out on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I haven't given anybody any numbers off of
Right,
it, because
gotcha.
we don't know.
I think that's wise.
but I think the airport commission needs to understand that as it stands right now, there's
Zero.
zero.
Right.
And they have to work off what is budgeted for that fiscal year for the time being.
I would try to get your stuff caught up. You know, we're working on some
Right.
pretty temporary numbers
Right, and
here.
it's spooky,
That's right.
so
So,
I think,
you know, they got to us to what the best they had at this point. And that was trying to get to the end of the year.
Well, I know she's trying to get caught up, but is it maybe there's some that are more important than others?
So
To catch
that-
up on?
That could be. Well, she's probably working more on the general operating of the county. Where, is this a separate checking account?
These are all the special
Spatial?
capital improvement
Yeah,
funds.
yeah.
Those are the balances that
So she probably.
I
had-
was given at the first of the year, and I've never trusted the numbers.
Yeah. I'll bet you she hasn't got to them yet to
So
reconcile.
that's why she's in period 13 now, 2020, so
Yeah.
we should get
Getting closer.
closer to
Gentlemen, can I make a comment here?
Yeah,
When you're dealing with airport budgeting, you're dealing with sometimes 3 and 5 year ahead projections, because the construction needs go through the state to the federal government. So that's where you have to keep that kind of in mind. So if commitments have been made, future commitments, you got to keep that in mind for your airport multi-year capital improvement fund. Thank you.
okay. I stuck another 30,000 in there, right?
okay, so we're at 50.
Do we want to
And
go?
then, John, at the end of the year, we just, because I know that we have an airport resolution, end of the year transfer resolution, and so they can just decide if whatever is left in that account, if there is any, if it will be transferred to that capital improvement, right?
Well, your expenses would be paid out of the capital improvement. So at the end of the year, I would just have them approve transferring this 30,000. And if they haven't used the 22.5, same thing, over to their reserve. Yeah. Okay, is there some of these other line items? I mean, if I didn't have anything, I put in the same as last year. So is there any others that we need to adjust? Like, for instance, that matching funds for the public transportation. I left that in there, 25,500.
I think we're good on that, because that's,
Is that a renewable to
yeah,
the state?
we do it
Okay.
every year. It's
Okay.
federal.
Okay.
So leave it in?
Yeah.
Okay. What about your Northwest Kansas planning?
Yes, because we're back to paying for it again.
Are you back to paying?
Yeah, they've settled up their back taxes.
Okay. Should we start with our appropriation and go through them, like the health department there? I left that 11,000. The health officer, I left that at 1,200. Autopsy expense, like I said, I usually use the same, 2,500. Services for the aged, Beaver City, Bird City, 3,400. St. Francis, 8,000. Northwest Kansas Council on Aging, 5,500. Juvenile Services, that's one that a lot of years we don't use. Some years probably gonna hit us with 10 or 20,000. So I just left that at 2. Environmental protection, we had that in at 5, I left it at 5. Fair, 22.2. Historical, 4780. Mental retardation,
What's the fair, you say?
22.2, page 17.
same as what it's been for several years. See, the conservation district, you did want that increased to 25,000.
Right, they went up a little bit over.
Why do we have 2? Excuse me. Why do we have 2 for mental health?
Because it's mental health and mental is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
2 separate ones.
Yeah, one's High Plains and the other's developmental services.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Does all look all right then?
I think we should increase the fair.
What are you thinking?
I don't know, maybe we can get out of this beer garden deal. That's all we seem to be worried about is generating money. Their expenses keep going up to repairs.
And didn't we take out of that for the Bird City deal as well? We kind of took some out of the fair for that, for this, no, I thought we did, okay.
No, that was supposed to come out of the special.
Okay.
Alcohol fund, wasn't it?
Yeah, even though people that's not there.
Alcohol. $22,500, that's what they run on for the year.
22.
Do we have to add the 5% to that?
We shouldn't, I don't
No,
think.
just leave it there.
What are you thinking, Roger, on the fair? Bump it up? Your thoughts?
I say we just leave it there then, if we don't have to put the 5 in.
The 5% was for personnel, for the reviewing wages,
Oh,
because we're
okay.
looking at changing the pay scales. But this is just an appropriation for them to operate the fair, that's not wages.
Right.
So we can do whatever
This is
you
to
guys feel
maintain the
appropriate.
buildings and pay the electrical bills down there and
Oh, okay. So
Bring in entertainment.
are we good with 22 then?
now, maybe I'm wrong, but you can't spend tax dollars on entertainment.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, I'm not saying it might not happen once in a while, but law, anyway, when I was on the fair board, you had to, whatever you brought in at the gate had to pay for entertainment. But for like building the grandstands and putting up that building, and they make, I bet they're still working on that,
The new addition?
An arena.
on the arena.
I don't know where they're at.
That was in 15, I think.
Maybe they're all right, I don't know.
So we're saying the 22 is good for fair just where it's at?
Yeah, we'll just leave it now, but it's been there a long time.
Long time.
Long time.
I know
At least
just
15
utilities
years.
to open that fair building in the winter
No,
is,
time. What do you think?
You move it up to 25.
Okay.
Okay. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I know, because I've went back and looked, it's 10, 15 years it's been the
It's a
same.
long time, and then, you know,
That's a lot of years to run on the same amount of money.
Been that long, I'm surprised they're not hollering.
Well, there.
they have hollered, but they haul in a different way. They're trying to generate money with the beer fire garden.
Okay, up above there, under capital projects, I have reserve for CO, $520,000. That's your cushion. In other words, we got a nice cushion built into this.
Okay.
And I can tell you, there's some counties that don't have that at all. You know, one county that had to take a couple of the graders to the bank and said, "We want to sell these to you and lease them back." And that's the only way they made it through last year. So, you guys are in excellent condition.
Well, I tell you what, we'd have to praise the people in the different departments, because they've done a good job of watching their budgets.
Yes.
It's not us.
And you guys too. And your reserves are in good shapes. That's,
You have to
I
have some
just-
reserve, you just,
I remember a number of years ago when we first started, your general fund was 1 million in the negative. And now we're at 3 million in the
I
positive.
think we were also paying 1.5 million for health insurance at that time.
We're,
Or 1.48 or something.
okay, we're at 88.239 mils right now. So that's, what, 2.5 mils less than last year? 2.7 mils less than last year?
Will the taxpayers see that?
Yeah, I mean, this is what, this here is what's going to go in the paper. So they'll be able, this will, number here will end up being, now what I hope is,
what, did you take mine? Why
I
didn't I
took
have
it.
one of these?
You did, you took
I hope the taxpayers don't look at this revenue neutral
I
rate
made
as
notes for you.
what they think it actually is, because see, this is something new.
Right, it's completely.
And they're going to say, they're going to look at that 93 and compare it to 90 and say, oh, they raised it.
Well, one I got.
Is the 15th when they have
The
the,
next meeting, I believe so.
There. You can have that one.
Is that gonna be enough time?
well,
Doesn't it have to be 10 days?
Yeah. yeah, when
Is there-
we're sitting here, so the earliest we're going to be able to get it in the paper be next week.
Right.
And so when we come out,
Yeah.
8, no, it's not going to be enough time.
So we need to move the meeting to the 20th? Or do a special meeting?
Either way.
Whatever you guys want to do, I'm good.
Let's say I've got several people on for the 15th, so we'll do a
We'll
special
just do a special
on the 20th.
budget hearing meeting. Is that what that'd be for,
Yeah.
a budget hearing?
R&R and budget hearing,
On what date?
20th.
20th?
9 o'clock. Still all right? I think that's when you've been having them.
Okay.
The 20th, yeah.
Okay, so changing that to the 20th. And we're going to look at
Okay, 20th. 9th of September at 9 o'clock.
You're looking at 88.239 mils. Okay. I'll try to shoot you a
New sheet.
new sheet for tomorrow so you can get it to the paper. And all right on that fire district, where I got it, going up 1,000th of it above last year. I mean, I'm sure they got increases too, so.
What was the mills at again? I'm sorry, 60,
Oh, on what?
61,000.
It's right here.
Oh,
Red.
Okay, okay.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, if you just move your
Maybe I need
decimal
to get
points
new
over
glasses.
3.
gotcha.
So land values went down?
No, they went up.
They went up.
The one pipeline that came on last year for 5 million, it somehow dropped $1 million in value.
I was going to say, generally seeing agricultural values just going up a little bit, not like they had been.
Yeah, they just keep going.
So why does a mill generate less money now than it did in 2020?
Pipeline.
Valuations.
It's a pipeline. More evaluation.
Your state assessed dropped much.
$1 million
$1
on
million.
that pipeline. Yeah, that one
Okay.
pipeline. It went from 5 million to 4 million in valuation.
What about this money we're getting for COVID? Does that show up anywhere in the budget? That's-
It's a separate,
Yeah, that's separate.
that's not, let's see here. On page 20, Spark grant. Looks like it brought in about 645,000. $88.239, does that sound all right?
I was amazed.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You never know what's gonna happen when they start messing with stuff.
Kind of hard to deal with ignorant people every day.
I had one that we started out
Thanks.
at 20 mil increase, and we settled at 12 mil increase. And we had the hearing this week. And anyway, one commissioner said, I just figured when that came out in the paper, we was gonna get a lot of calls. Did you guys get any calls? No, nobody got any calls. Which it turned out that was gonna be a 12%. And they went from 90 mils up over 100 mils. And you thought when they went over the 100 mils, boy, no comments from them, and nobody showed up to the hearing either. So,
And that was when?
huh?
Just lately?
Yeah, that was this week.
Amazing what $7 wheat does.
Sure, yeah.
They're in a better mood.
Yeah.
Is that the county that got hit really hard last year?
Oh, that had to sell their equipment, yeah.
I think I know that county.
And in fact, they said, no, the only calls we're getting is regarding one of our elected officials. And they're trying to get accomplished what you guys have already got accomplished.
Yeah.
You happy?
Yeah, we got it lowered, that's good. So, yeah.
Hopefully. I mean, if.
Yeah, we still have to
if
get through November.
We gotta get through November.
I know.
I mean, knock on wood, in years past, it's been right there, so. Knock on wood.
I've learned don't do that.
I think so.
Okay, got her.
That was within that, John.
Yep.
I just got this email Friday. And John will want to know a little bit about this probably. Leslie or Papa? What this is, it's probably been close to 10 years now that the KDHE wanted us to, as a landfill operating committee,
estimate.
we want to have financial assurance.
Yeah.
So it was the commissioner's decision to start laying away money for it. And prior to last year, it was only like $17,000 to $20,000. Well, then they decided they need to put a deadline cap on it of 10 years. So that's the reason this bottom figure is what we paid last year. Well, then now, this year, they're actually dividing it by 9 instead of 10. We kept thinking it's going to get less every year. Well, it's going to stay about the same the way it looks to me.
Because,
Because you're
These-
dividing by
these-
less numbers.
well, and on top of that, your numbers are going to increase for inflation.
It's true, yeah.
So,
There's only like 3 or 4 entities that's operating a landfill that do this method. Most of them are county operated, and they set it up, and you're probably familiar with this, where they just, they feel when it comes to closure time that they're just gonna pass, increase the mill levy and everything like that to get this done.
I was going to say, yeah, it's rare that anybody actually funds this.
Okay. So, at some point, I'm thinking, soon we ought to maybe stop doing this, still leave it in the trust, because the longer we operate, the less it's going to cost us to get closed because we're getting more material filled in.
Right.
Once you dig your pit, you still got your cost to close, like they shut us down tomorrow, you'd have more cost to
To fill it in. You
fill
got
it
more
back
material
in.
to fill it in, yeah.
Are we actually paying out money somewhere?
Yeah. Into that trust.
Into this trust
Into
fund,
this-
yes.
Okay, okay. So this is that combination where it's a state.
State requirement
Where it comes, yeah.
that we have to do
But-
something.
But you, instead of using a financial assurance, you're actually funding a trust, a separate trust, that the state has their hands on the money. It's in you guys' name, but state controls it, if I remember right.
I don't think it's in the state's control, but they want to know that we have assurance. We have a trust with the
Yeah, the
local
bank.
company, the local bank.
Yeah, I was gonna-
And they want to know
Cover
that
that
balance.
money.
This KDHE wants to
Okay.
know that balance. So, we've got roughly 520,000 in it right now, which is half as what's required in this trust assurance.
Half of what's required?
Yeah. See, the cost estimates on that top figure is $1,025,701.30.
Is that budgeted for in landfill budget?
Yeah, we've been taking it out of landfill budget, so.
But what you're saying, do you think the cost total prediction is going to be less because it's gonna be fuller, and we're not gonna have as much material to haul
If
out.
we keep operating like we are, that will be
Okay.
correct, and we're
So
still
that's-
able to operate.
that's good
And we
news.
still got a 500,000 already in the trust account. I'm not sure we want to keep going the 9 years. We wouldn't want to, if we could possibly stop it. And then you got to have some other agreement.
With the
in-
state?
With the state.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's the thing about it, is I think from what you're talking about, where you're setting the actual physical aside, that you're not gonna be able to change it without getting state approval.
Okay. I didn't know whether you can do that midstream and what the
Well,
process
you
is.
need to talk to them.
Can some of that money be used to make another cell if we've got $1,025,000?
We don't have room.
Okay.
So,
How close are you getting to being?
we got quite a while.
Quite a
We're
while.
on our last, I mean, we got an extension of our last cell as far as that goes, but we're also doing a vertical expansion.
How many years of projection do you think you have before you have to close it?
It's quite a while, yeah, it's just better than
Okay,
50
sure.
years, so,
How many?
better than 50,
Way better than that, isn't it?
So,
yeah.
yeah, I can see where this is,
I can give a safe
This
number,
is-
but earlier, that is down to about 10 years,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of costly because you're gonna put the total amount that you're gonna spend in,
How much
in
is recycling?
40 years.
We're not recycling going to affect this.
Well, let's say in 45 years,
If we're not recycling, how much is
or
that going to
50
affect
years
us?
out, and it's gonna take us about another 5 years to get this $1 million set aside.
Yeah.
So you're 40 years ahead of when you're gonna need
Okay,
it.
true, yeah.
Like your cardboard, you still want to get,
And then the other thing, you got to monitor this landfill for
I got
another
you.
30 years.
Another 30
After
years.
it closes.
Well, and that's assuming no contamination, 30 years after
Yes.
any signs of contamination.
Yeah, yeah, that's correct, so. Okay, so you're saying we got to get with the state, see if we can stop the trust fund, and if we can get a different agreement.
Yeah.
If the commissioners wish to pursue
Yeah.
that, so.
Yeah. But I can see what you're saying. If he's looking at 50 years out before we ever close this thing,
Yeah.
and we got about $500,000 set aside now, in another 5 years, let's say we got $1 million set aside. At that point, we got 45 years left, so we got our $1 million set aside 45 years in advance.
Even at current interest rates, we'll be okay.
But I guess that's
Can
nice.
it be in an interest bearing?
Huh?
Can it be in an interest bearing account?
It is him, yes.
I was gonna say, I figured it was.
What did you say we're putting in it a year?
55.
But yeah, this payment, last year, we used to be only that 17 to 20,000, then they jumped it up. Last year was that bottom number, 56,298, and this year is going to be 56,119. So,
Yeah, I think we need some
56,000, right?
56,000, yeah.
clarification. Why, if we're looking at 45 years, and we have to have $1 million, is that what you're saying? Why do we have to pay that much? Why can't we spread that out over a few years?
Yeah,
That's what we started out, and then KDHE says you need to limit that to 10 years, because there's been some problems, I guess, with other landfills. And then the KDHE, I think, has to come back and pick up some of the bills. That's the reason they changed their formula. Last year is when they changed it.
you probably wanted it there in case they had to shut them down.
Yes,
So
correct.
they're wanting us to with less than 10 years, we're gonna be at the $1 million.
Yeah. But my point is, I don't know if that's a wise
basically
investment.
5 years, because we got a
Yeah.
$500,000 there now. And at 50-some thousand a year, another 5 years, we'll be
Years
able.
we'll be there.
Yeah.
But every year, this $1 million requirement changes a little bit for
Yeah.
inflation, so that,
So did we budget it in for this year?
Yes, we have.
The
Well,
50-some thousand?
Yeah.
yep. I don't know if that's quite that much, but we had some budget into that, so.
Okay. Is that, you were planning on that as your retirement fund?
Well, I was thinking of that. Just the interest off
I
of
was
it.
going to say, just the interest off of it.
Yeah. That's the reason I'm thinking, we'll probably make this payment this year, but this is your guys' decision. But we ought to be getting with KDHE to see if we can't switch this formula in midstream or something like that.
That's my thought is,
Okay.
you're
all right.
putting a lot of money way ahead of when you're
Just
gonna
sitting
need it.
there, yeah.
You know, you apparently expanded your landfill or something. You said at one point it was 10 years.
Yeah, it's just the way it was operated. We completely changed our
And you
operation.
changed it. So now you're out 50 years. They ought to take that in consideration. My thought, I'm no expert on it, so.
Which
that's their
they
thought.
have, and that's where they arrive at this figure, because the engineers have to figure out your lifetime span, stuff like that.
Okay.
There's a formula that they do use.
But
it.
that's the total amount after 50 years and still making you put it aside in 10 years, basically.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So,
I think you ought to work on it.
Okay, okay.
They probably have had some of those landfills where there's contamination in the water. And they've had to go in early and
Yep.
that's what they're worried about.
Yeah, that's what they
There's gonna be
did, yeah.
Contamination.
You're right. So, okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
Yeah, I know Norton had, well, they had contamination and then closed it. And then they went in and figured out where the contamination was coming from, which was state Department of Transportation had dumped some 55-gallon barrels of solvent, I think, and they rusted out and started leaking. They got them all dug out and stuff. And eventually got the contamination down to the point where they allowed them to reopen it. And so they're now using the landfill again. Yeah, they get tough on it. So, that's when they bought that incinerators from the state. And that, I remember, went 6 or 7 years before it burned out. Well, the state didn't like it either. The state, it had been approved in other states, but the state of Kansas says, no, we don't want that operating at 1,300 degrees. We want it at 1,700 degrees, which exceeded the
Capacity.
Yeah, there. And I think they redid the firewall on it 2 or 3 times, and they finally, at that point, they got the contamination under control, and the state came back and said, well, instead of rebuilding that, if you want to open your landfill, go ahead. And they were burning a lot of natural. That was the other thing. It was designed, you fired it up for a few hours and got it up to the temperature, then it would, just like a fire, burn itself. And so you turned the gas off. The state of Kansas said, no, you run your natural gas all the time. And so the cost was a lot higher than the original projection.
That'd be fun to budget for. Yeah.
Oh, that was terrible for several years.
Please, I can just leave here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good safe drive.
Have anything else? Guess we're done.
All right, I make a motion that we adjourn then.
Motion to adjourn, first and second, all in favor?
Aye.